so much for coming out today to this workshop on expanding learning through out-of-classroom experiences presented to you by the Office of Student Government under the Division of Student Affairs. My name is Carly Hench, and I'm one of the Managing Assistant Directors in the Office of Student Government. I'd like to introduce two members of my team as well, Alexa Contres, my other Managing Assistant Director, and Lawrence Owens, who works mainly down in Kane Ocean. So what brings you out today, guys? What, can I get a, okay, not working. There we go. What do you want to gain from this workshop? What was your intention in coming out? It's Wednesday, it was the closest building, sounded the least boring, nothing better to do. Any of these will work. If you have something a little bit more intentional, like I want to learn what Office of Student Government does, that works too. Whatever it is that you'd like to shout out. I know I'm asking a lot. It's Wednesday morning, but then it is like halfway through the week. And if you couldn't tell already, I like to walk and wander and talk to my audience and see your faces, and I want you to be able to see my face too. So what brought you out? Give me something, anything. Come on.
Our students are so different. I've been in education for 46 years. And so it's a different audience that we're addressing. And I'm in the health and physical education department. So I'd like to see if we can engage students in more authentic experiences.
Awesome, absolutely. Engage in authentic learning experience, understand our students a little bit better. Absolutely, thank you for that. What else? Yeah.
I've been teaching for 30 some years.
Wow.
But I'm always open to new ideas.
Okay, open to new ideas, has been teaching for 30 plus years, wants to expand kind of her realm and her understanding. Anything else?
Provide opportunity to our students.
Awesome, provide opportunity to our students. I am so happy that you guys gave those answers because those are things I'm going to actually be talking about today. I was really nervous I was going to ask that question and somebody was going to say something that I totally wouldn't be covering, and then I'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm not talking about that today. You need to go to a different workshop. So we're going to, maybe if I wave it in the air or do a dance. There we go. My goal today is to further your understanding of what we as a department do. We want to identify the learning implications taking place for student leaders and all students through the events that we plan. We want to explore the event planning steps using a project management lens and really walk you through what our event planning looks like. And then I really want to engage the university community as a whole in what we do to benefit our students, to tie into the classes that you're teaching and the efforts that you're already doing. So let's get started. This is the point where we stand up and we get our hands clapping, we do a little dance. Too much, right? Too much, I know. That's just a little snapshot of what we do in the Office of Student Government. When people typically hear Office of Student Government, they typically think of student advocacy, representing student needs and concerns, making sure that those concerns are reaching higher level administrators and they're communicating and working out those challenges that they're having on this campus. But another huge component of Office of Student Government, especially at Kane University, that a lot of people don't realize or understand is that we handle a ton of on-campus and off-campus programming and offer opportunities to our students through these efforts. So that's really what I want to focus on today. Not only what we do, but how we do it, and then how we can get you involved in those efforts. So a little bit about who makes us up. Student Organization of Kane University is the full-time undergraduate student government. Those are the elected student leaders that are representing the full-time constituents on student needs and concerns. They're serving on committees, they're meeting with administrators. Graduate and part-time student council does the same thing, but for who? Graduate students, part-time undergraduate students. Then we have two other entities that fall underneath of us, Pulse, or Programming Board, and Commuter Resource Center, or CRC. And these entities serve programming. Pulse does large-scale on-campus and off-campus programming, and Commuter Resource Center focuses on meeting the commuter students' needs. Another kind of entity underneath of our umbrella is our funded groups. We fund annually up to 25 recognized groups on campus. I've just included a few of them here. Association of Computing and Machinery, which is housed, their department that works with them is housed in this building. Otaku Anime Society, Catholic Newman Club is the yellow logo. Kane Theater Council with the faces. The Accounting Club, Student Occupational Therapy Association, and Physical Therapy Club. These are just a snapshot again, but we fund up to 25 recognized groups on campus. And each one of those clubs has their own mission that they seek to program and serve the students according to what's outlined in their mission. Any recognized groups that are on campus that are not receiving annual funding can also apply for what we call special projects. So if you work with a club or you know of a club and you want to see if they can get some money to put on an event that they're excited about, they can apply for special projects. And that's up to $3,000 for any particular or series of events for that student group. We also work very closely with Kane Ocean Campus Life. They're on the video screen right now. Hey, Kane Ocean. We work with them not only with our VP of Kane Ocean, that's our student elected leader, to make sure those student concerns at the Kane Ocean campus are being addressed, but she runs her own programming board down there to make sure that they're modeling what we're doing at the Union campus. Similarly, in the Wenzhou Kane campus, our Wenzhou student government has their own elected board that's programming and meeting the student concerns and needs at that campus. So why do we do it? Why do we go through so much effort to put on these programs to make sure that we have activities going on? Why is it important? What do our student leaders gain by us doing this? What do our students gain by us doing this? Right? Gone is the days where people just say, oh, just because it's what you do. Campus activities, student government, that's just what you do. You just put on stuff because it's fun. You make sure that there's things going on because it's fun. We need to create a fun campus environment. Gone are the days where that's it, right? Because we're doing so much more than fun. We're creating meaningful experiences for our students, and that's what I really want to sink home today, because they connect directly to a lot of the work that you guys are doing in the classrooms, and if we can merge and tie those two together, we'll be creating a more successful product of a student. So first I'm going to talk a little bit about what our student leaders are gaining. So the National Association of Colleges and Employers annually publishes a job outlook survey where they ask employers to identify the top skills that they're looking for their candidates to come to their agency or their organization. And for the second year in a row, they've identified that they're looking for problem-solving skills, teamwork, and communication or problem-solving skills and teamwork as the top competencies. Additionally, they've identified on the same ranking level that if they're looking at two equally qualified candidates, they're going to look at the student's major, completion of an internship, and leadership and or work experience on the same level. So that's huge for people like us in our profession, right? Because we're providing leadership, we're providing tangible, soft skills that then they can take to their employer in their future careers. And on this chart here is just a listing of the other skills that were ranked in this study. So Hart and Lumina, they got together in a coffee shop one day, and they were talking, and Lumina was like, they said, what skills should college graduates have? And Lumina was like internship, experience, communication, real-world knowledge, people skills, teamwork, problem-solving skills. And Hart was like, whoa, settle down. All they need is critical thinking, communication, and problem-solving skills. All right, that was my little corny joke. Nobody laughed, that's okay. I won't take it personally. No, but these, thank you, Bill. Yes, I got one in the back. So these are 2 additional research studies that I just wanted to point out, and we find those commonalities again, that communication, problem-solving skills, these are things that employers are looking for. And I've included a listing of the research articles that I'm mentioning now at the end of my presentation, so if you want to look more in depth into these research articles, you can absolutely do that. We know that our student leaders are gaining these skills by planning these events. We hands down know it. We've always known it. But with the advancement of assessment and the take home of what the contributions that we're giving to assessment on a regular basis at a college level as a whole, we're delving into really gathering that data and understanding it a little bit more. And what we started doing over 10 years ago is starting doing program assessments. So after every single event that we do, we ask our student leaders to fill out a program assessment. We modified it a couple years ago to really speak to those soft skills that employers are looking for. We're asking them how they delegated, what conflicts or struggles or challenges did they encounter during that delegation or supervision process. How did they manage their time? What challenges did they encounter there? Did they have any communication or conflicts that they had to resolve? Problem solving, how did they overcome challenges? There's always things that come up in programs that they have to overcome. They have to fix it right then and there. They can't wait until tomorrow to make sure that it's okay. They have to fix it in that moment. Identifying leadership and work styles. How did they work with their team? Everybody communicates differently. Everybody has a leadership style that's different. You might have 2 chiefs, or you might have no chiefs. How did you overcome that? Budget management. If you're given a budget of $1,000 and along the lines you needed $1,200, well, you're not getting $1,200, so how did you overcome that challenge? Goal development. Everybody's working towards a particular goal on that team and making sure that they achieve that. Collaboration and teamwork. So we see these in their program assessments, and again, we collect these after every single event, because every single time they're planning an event, they're learning something new. They're overcoming a new challenge that maybe they didn't overcome at the last event. And then also through our evaluations, not only with our one-on-one meetings when we sit with them and do evaluations, but during their self-evaluations. And we're comparing that self-assessment score with our evaluative score, and we're having those conversations with them. And these are the competencies that we categorize in our evaluations and ask them to speak to, and giving examples of specifically how they're meeting this skill. And why is that important to them? Why is it important for students to go to it, right? Human beings are always asking the question to themselves, with them. Who knows what with them means? Anybody? No? No? Nobody? What's in it for me? What am I going to get from this? I'm not just going to volunteer 2 hours of my time because I have nothing better to do. I'd rather sit home and binge watch some television show, right? What is it? What's in it for me? Why am I going to go to this event? Why am I going to volunteer my time for this club? Why am I going to get involved in this community? And they can outline specifically how they're meeting these soft skills on their resume, making them a better candidate for their potential employer. So now I'm going to spend some time talking about what our students are gaining, because that's really, I think, the most important thing for you guys to understand. Our student leaders, you see them in your classrooms. You know who they are. They're the ones that are asking questions constantly. They're the ones that are participating constantly. You usually don't have to sell them to get involved. They're asking you on the first day, how can I get involved? Or maybe even before at new student orientation, how can I get involved? I'm signing up for 6 clubs right now, right? So our student leaders usually are really gung-ho, they're ready to jump in head first. Our students, on the other hand, they usually fall in this middle ground where they're kind of like, meh, maybe I could get involved, maybe I can't. I'm not really sure how I feel about it either way. These are the students that we want you to kind of encourage to go to events, to get involved in the campus community. We know that people, when they feel like they belong as part of a community, that they're more likely to stay in that community, right? This is true of employers, staff, employees, and constituents. So we want our students to feel like they belong as part of this community. We also want them to engage. So what we did about 3 years ago, maybe more, all the days kind of run together, is we kind of categorized all of our events into learning domains and making sure that we have a specific learning outcome for every single program that we do. So I'm coming back down off the stage, beware, because I'm asking for audience contributions again. So just get yourselves ready, do whatever breathing exercises you need to do in order to participate. Okay, so social engagement, that's our first learning domain. That's encouraging Cane pride. That's making sure people feel like they're a part of the community. Can anybody tell me an example of a social engagement program? And this could be at Cane University, or it could be from the college that you graduated from. Keep it clean though, please. Let's remember we're in professional development. So what's an example of a social engagement program? I'm coming to this side because I picked on that side a little bit, so I'm da-dun, da-dun, da-na-na-na-na-na. So what's an example of a social engagement? This is the easiest one.
Could be advocacy for could be marginalized groups, immigrants, for example.
It could be advocacy. I would categorize that a little bit later under humanitarian and civic engagement as one of our learning domains, and we absolutely do events like that. When we're thinking about what generates Cane pride, when we're thinking about what generates, people to feel excited about being on a Cane or a college community or a university, at a university, why, what makes them feel excited? What makes them feel like they're a part of the community?
Events like Cane Day, special events, homecoming, football games.
Absolutely, absolutely. Homecoming, football games, Cane Day. When you're walking to your class and all of a sudden you see a picnic on the Myron Student Center patio and you're like, who decided to cook up some burgers and hot dogs today? Those are social events. The goal of those events are to create connections amongst students. The goal of those events are to create a sense of Cane pride. When they're walking to their classes and all of a sudden somebody's handing out free gelato, they're like, what? I'm getting free gelato just for going to class today? That's pretty cool, right? We're creating those connections. They might be standing in line there and being like, hey, what class are you going to? Right? So it's an opportunity for them to connect with their peers. And at every single event, we survey our students. We don't survey all of them. We survey small populations, and we ask them what they're gaining from attending these events. And they're telling us that it's helping them connect with their fellow students, that they feel proud to be a Cane student, that it's helping them feel better connected with the Cane campus community as a whole. All right, they're going to get harder, so I need you guys to amp up your game. Culture and global awareness. It helps individual growth, understanding of different cultures, identity development. What's an example of a program that maybe happened on this campus? Alexa. Black History Month program, absolutely. Hispanic Heritage Month. You were going to say something.
I was going to say Hispanic Heritage Month.
Hispanic Heritage Month program, Asian Lunar New Year celebration, anything that we do with Asian studies. We had a hot pot Asian style event. We had a Hispanic Heritage Month speaker, and these were just events that we had in the fall semester. Pizza in the sukkah, right? It's exposing them to a different culture, a different community, and helping them learn. They're telling us they're able to communicate with individuals that are different than they are. It's helping them understand and be exposed to various cultures, religions, or beliefs, exploring their ethics, integrity, their values and beliefs, and gain a better understanding of other people's traditions and customs. I do want to tell you that these questions that I'm summarizing, most of them are on a Likert scale. It's an agreement scale. So when we're asking them these questions, they are kind of indicating on a strongly disagree to a strongly agree level. Humanitarian and civic engagement. So the advocacy event that you were talking about earlier, we do a lot of these where we do domestic violence walks. We do a food bank luncheon where we raise money for the annual Community Food Bank of New Jersey, and we also then create awareness around hunger. We also do community service team builders where we're bringing student leaders in a group to build something for a particular cause that's in need. We also do passive programs where students are on their way to class and they just write a card to a child in the Children's Specialized Hospital, or a veteran across seas, or a member of the LGBTQ community who maybe needs a little bit of motivation and pick-me-up. And students are telling us that they're aware of their social responsibility, they understand the interconnectedness of societies worldwide, and it's helping them to identify resources that maybe they weren't aware of before. Intellectual growth. These programs are primarily planned by our funded groups where their mission statements are rooted in academia. Right? So these are programs like the Washington, D.C. bus trip. That's historically based. They're going there to look at the history. Mole Day, Sandwiches with Scientists, Biotechnology Club wanted to engage the students in a fun way where they can connect and talk with fellow scientists. The LSW Test Prep, the Social Work Club put that on for their social work peers. So these events are rooted in academia where our funded groups that have their mission statements focused on a particular major are planning events to advance that major, extending the classroom learning or exposing to different ideas. So it could introduce new principles, theories, or practices that are relevant to the area of study. So maybe there's a speaker or a lecturer that the group wants to bring in from a field that maybe they're not getting in their curriculum. They can do that. Maybe they want to have an opportunity to connect with Kane faculty and outside professionals in a networking arena. They can do that. It helps them apply previous learned information to a new environment sometimes. It creates a connection between the academics and campus involvement, encourages critical, reflective, and creative thinking. So this is what our students are telling us that from our intellectual growth programs they're learning. For life skills and personal development, this is really where our stress relief, our mental health programs, our physical health programs are coming in. Everybody was looking at those massages in the beginning of the presentation, and they're like, that looks really good right about now. Yeah, and it looks really good for our students right around finals time. We plan an entire week filled with stress relief events to help our students kind of unwind. And I want to mention that every single one of our events that we're planning, we're not doing it by ourselves. We're working with offices on this campus, departments, units on this campus to make sure that these happen. And so, for example, our stress relief events, we're not just bringing masseuses in to give our students 15-minute massages and then sending them on our way. No, we're having counseling services there to make sure that they're providing resources to the students that they can then use throughout the next semester and throughout their lives. Our students are identifying triggers, and this is the open-ended questions on their surveys. They're identifying the triggers as coursework, finances, emotional health, family, work-life balance, that they're handling stress through deep breathing, exercise, friends, music, sleep, massages, and meditation. And they can recognize, over 90% of students in each area could recognize areas in their life where they could improve, which is telling. Leadership and professional development, we have an entire week of events in the spring semester called March to Success. And during that entire week, we're talking about resume building, interview skills, how to dress professionally. And again, we're partnering with career services to make sure that they can use those resources on an ongoing basis as well. And our students that are attending these events are identifying that for successful communication skills, they need to be able to express their opinion, have the courage to speak up, and listen. That's so important in communication, right? And factors identified that contribute to a successful job search include communication, experience, having a good resume, doing research on a job, and networking with others in the field. At the end of every survey, we also ask the satisfaction question, and then we ask them if they have any additional comments, and these are some of the comments that they've given us in these surveys. So we started doing this about 3 years ago, maybe a little bit more, to really gain insight into what our students are learning by coming to our events. It was not enough for us to just make sure that they were satisfied. We want to make sure that they're gaining our intended learning outcome, that our students know what we're expecting from them, and we're knowing whether or not we're achieving our result. Any questions about anything that I've covered so far? Yeah. I do not, across the board, you mean?
Yeah. So, for example, what is the participation from students from the School of Computer Science?
I love that question. Can you jot that down for me, one of you guys? I love that question because I'd like to look into that more, and I can absolutely get that data. So a system that we started using, my timing is so off. Like I think that everything is like a year ago. But a system that we started using is called CougarLink, and it allows us to basically track and understand not only our attendees, but our student leaders and who's getting involved and what majors they are, and we can pull reports of all of that information. And I would love to look into that. So thank you for that question. I'm always looking at different lenses that we can look at the data. So thank you for that question. We have access to the data. So I don't have the answer for you, but I have access to the data and I can find out the answer to you. You're from computer science?
I am. And
Okay.
I was thinking that the type of, especially the social engagement, is really an important component of
Yeah,
this, right?
right.
So I wonder if information and notices gets out to specific groups that may not be participating as much as others.
Right. And the Association for Computing and Machinery certainly reaches out to the students, but again, it's major specific, it's very tailored, so they're not probably getting out to the social engagement programs. And it's similar to a lot of our academic focused groups where they're staying in their niches, they're staying in their ballpark, and they're not maybe expanding outside of that realm. So that's a great point. And how can we better reach those students? Excellent question. Anyone else? Yeah.
Just getting some ideas. For example, what you said about belonging. I always teach that to my students who are going to be bilingual teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And they encounter students from all over the world. And I always tell them that something that they should do is to give them a sense of belonging to those new in the classroom.
Right.
And I have experienced that here at the college level. Students that come, for example, in some classes I have a lot of Hispanic, and all of a sudden one from China come and feel a little bit,
Nervous, absolutely, yeah.
So immediately I think, okay, I'm going to pair her or him with a group in which when they are working in groups, they feel more comfortable than
Right.
with the whole class. And we develop activities, some presentations, but that kid is not doing it alone.
Right.
And we can encourage the professors to bring that to the upper level, to the community.
Right.
So whatever activities, I'm thinking about it because I do thematic units and I can do something at the higher level, to the community, Kane community
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
Expand it, make it
Absolutely.
larger.
I love that referral system, and we try to use that as much as possible, right? Because when you pair somebody with another individual, it's more likely that they're going to attend, it's more likely that they're going to invest themselves because you created that connection for them. So I love using small groups in classrooms, and even at the student leadership level, we take them out of their larger group and then we break them up and we kind of switch them around so they can form new connections with each other. The kind of connecting to the higher level or the university community as a whole. One simple kind of thing that you guys could do on the first day of class is have the students kind of go on their phones and look up Cougar Link and look up some clubs that they might be interested in, and just based off of their interest, and then kind of form little groups in the class of what club are you interested in? What club are you interested in? I'm interested in this, and this club, and when do they meet? And just have them have like small discussions about it, and that's your icebreaker for the beginning of class, and it allows them to know the resource that they need in order to get involved and start having conversations about what they would get involved in to be able to connect them to the larger community. But definitely you're a referral too. Every single one of you are referrals, and when you're in your classrooms and you're talking about the importance of getting involved and being engaged in the campus community, that's your referral right there. And so many students have come back to me and said, thank you so much for talking about that in this class or in this presentation, because it helped me then take that next step because I knew somebody that knew the process and helped me along through it. So do not think of yourself as a referral as well. Awesome. Anybody else before I move on? So how many of you are interested in planning an event for your department? Okay, excellent. So the next steps that I'm going to be going through is exactly how we plan an event, and it is going to be, I kind of want to warn you that it is going to be a lot of information because there are a lot of steps in the event planning process. However, it's manageable, and I can certainly send you this PowerPoint at any time or to anybody who would be interested to walk through every single one of those steps. But what I want to also focus on is what the student leaders are gaining through working on this process. Because I can say as much as I want that we as a team are doing all of these events, but we as a team are not putting on over 300 events a year. It's just not possible, right? We have student leaders that are working with us on a regular basis that are coming up with the ideas and that are going through this project management cycle to execute these events. And that is so important for their development and for their growth. And that's how they're gaining all of those soft skills that I talked about earlier in my presentation. So I want everybody to pull out their binoculars or their magnifying glasses because I'm going to pick members of the audience to read each one of these particular bullet points under these steps, okay? So everybody get your binoculars, your magnifying glasses, whatever it is, maybe zoom, lens, camera, no, okay. All right. I guess not. So we're going to walk through each one of these steps, and Bill, my lovely assistant back there, is going to help me through so I can just kind of show you the forms. I'm not going to go into detail about every single one of these steps because those each could be workshops in their own, but I'm going to show you the steps that you go through in each one of these stages of the project management cycle. And when we think of project management, right, it's taking a huge project, a goal, and then breaking it up into little steps so that we can accomplish that goal. So we're teaching our students goal development, not only how to develop a goal, but then how to achieve that goal as well. So at the very first stage is concept, right? They are looking at what they want to accomplish. they're asking themselves, what do I want my students, my peers, to gain from attending this program? Do I want them to gain better skills in crafting a resume? Do I want them to gain a better understanding of Asian culture or Hispanic culture? What do I want them to gain by coming to this event? Our students are asking this question. Once they answer that question, that's their learning domain. Those are the bubbles that we went through earlier. Once they answer that question, then they're able to brainstorm on what that looks like. So is it a speaker? Is it an interactive game? Is it a lecturer that's coming in? What does that look like? What is the specific of that event? Then they receive approval through the professional staff person. Then they vote on the program concept and estimated expenditure in a board meeting and document the vote with minutes. This is so important because it keeps them accountable to each other. That them as a team, they agreed on this program. They discussed the estimated figures. They discussed the event idea. And they as a team agreed that they're going to move forward with this. It keeps them accountable, and it makes sure that they're working out any of those knots in the beginning of the process and negotiating. Maybe somebody is not in favor of that event, and they're negotiating their needs and their wants and what they're looking for the students to get. So that's in the concept stage. The next stage is the planning stage. They need to obtain an advisor, which can be any full-time faculty or staff at the university. So if any of you are bored on the weekends or nights or holidays, definitely you can advise an event on campus. You don't have to be the advisor for that group. You can just advise the event. This is also a great way to connect with the students in a different way than what you're used to as well, and expose yourself to a different opportunity or to a new idea. They determine the date based off of the university-wide and student government events calendar, and then add that event to our student government events planning calendar. This is really important because we try not to have 2 or 3 events going on at the same day. It happens, but we really try our best so that it doesn't happen, and we can do that through using these tools. We review the available space through virtual EMS. Give me a click. Awesome. Thanks, Bill. So this is our event management system that we use as a university as a whole. Anything that is confirmed in here is displayed publicly, and it allows the students to see what space is available for their event. You can go back. They complete the requisition form with the learning outcome, description, event details, advisor information, and cost breakdown. So this is a form that we've been using since I can even remember. And does my thing work? Oh, I was going to point to it. I can't. So this is a form that we've been using for forever. If you're thinking about planning an event for your department, it's so important that you have this. It's essentially a cover sheet, that you have this first sheet to be able to explain not only the basic details of that event, but everything that's going to be included in that event. So on the second page, the first page is the event details, date, time, place, the advisor, the point person information. But the second page is really listing all of your expenditures. So if you are getting a DJ for the event, or you're getting a speaker for the event, you're going to put that under description. You're going to put your cost center and object code, and our students know these numbers. They're going to put their actual expense that they're giving to the vendor. And then they're going to put the vendor name and phone number, the address. If it needs to go into DataTel, they're putting the input date and the requisition number, and then they're putting the PO number right underneath that requisition number when it's generated. If it's a blanket purchase order that they're applying the expenditure against, they're adding it to just a simple Excel document that we have that keeps track of all of our expenditures against that blanket, so we never go against that, go over what we've put in for that blanket. So it's really important that you have some kind of cover sheet. This allows you to get a quick snapshot of that event and be able to track all of those details that pertain to that event. Oops. Can you go back to? Thank you. The next step is we ask them to conduct a SWOT analysis. So this helps them identify the strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. So some of the threats that might be for an event is, like in January, if I wanted to have an event, what would be a threat? Snow, absolutely. So what's your snow date? Or if it's in April and you want to have an outside event, what's your rain date, right? Or if it's in August and it's like 90,000 degrees, what's your sun date? So we need to have an idea of what are the potential threats to our event. Another threat that students sometimes don't think about are what are the possible implications of this event? What if a student comes to this event and they get really upset, or this kind of conjures up some feelings or thoughts that maybe they're not comfortable with? We need to make sure that counseling center is there to be able to counsel the students so that they're not leaving our event upset. Or what if our speaker says something and we've done our best to clear all of their, everything that they were going to say, and we watched videos and we read bios, but they get up on stage and they just kind of go rogue, right? These things happen. So how are we going to protect against that so that our community still trusts us to put on good events for them? What are some of the weaknesses? What if nobody comes? What are some of the strengths? Well, if it's the first day of school and everybody's here, well, we know we're going to have a great turnout. If it's the middle of the semester, the end of the semester, maybe not so much. So maybe that's one of our weaknesses that we have to look at. How are we going to get attendees? And then what are our opportunities? What are our opportunities to engage with our fellow students? What can we look at to be able to get the most out of this event? Okay, take me back. Then they enter the event into Cougar Link. This is the system I was talking about earlier. It's our ability to market and promote all of our events on campus. Also, kind of side note, that all departments can also have a Cougar Link page. So if you are interested in starting to plan events or publicize what you guys are doing as a department, you can have your own Cougar Link page, and then you can then students can see everything that you're doing. Every group has to have a Cougar Link page. So what it does, it allows us to not only track the number of events that we as a university are doing, the number of attendees that are coming to our events, the number of student leaders that are coming to our events, that are involved in the community, and their major, their GPA, what year are they? So we're able to pull all of this data. So administratively, it is an amazing tool that's really able to help us understand our student leaders and our students better. Then they have to obtain university approval. We use, for major events, there's a board that comes together called Events Board. It's made up of a couple different departments on campus, and they just basically review the major events to make sure that they're following along with all of the university guidelines. And these are a couple of the departments that make them up. Okay, so now we're going to go on to execution. This is really the nitty-gritty of getting it done, making sure that all of those details are ironed out right before the event. If anything, if they need audio-visual, they're going to give Bill a call and make sure that that's set up. If they need a parking pass, they're going to fill that form out. If they need a school dude request for event setup, they can set up electricity, tables, chairs. If we need extra garbage cans or we need custodial staff, they're going to put in a request for that. A security agreement is, Bill. A security agreement. So I put hyperlinks on all of these forms so I could bounce from slide to slide, not realizing that I wasn't going to have my computer right in front of me. So he's kind of doing this as an ad lib. So thank you for rolling with the punches, Bill. So a security agreement is a form that we use university-wide to make sure we know what vendors are going to be on campus, and campus police actually has to sign off on this form. You can go back to execution. A co-curricular travel form, if you're sending students off campus, you have to complete a co-curricular travel form. This allows the university, again, to know that our students are going off campus and how many of them are going off campus. This form also we use, it's student participation agreement. This says that if a student, that they have to abide by the student code of conduct when they go off campus, and it also says that if they don't show up to the event, that they're going to have to pay the full price of the event, right? So we run bus trips off campus, Broadway shows for $15, Washington, D.C. trips for maybe $20, that's included with tours, right? We know as, adults that it costs a lot more than that to do these things, right? So college students don't always realize that. They think that they pay $15 and that's the cost of the ticket. And so they sign this form to understand that the ticket itself is actually costing $90 or $75. And how are we able to put on these events and be able to charge the students $15? Well, through their student fees, right? They all pay a student activity fee, and a large majority of that money comes to the Office of Student Government so that we can put on all of these programs and fund all of these clubs. Okay, you can go back to execution. The ticket order form, you don't have to click on this one. The food waiver form, the food order form, and the university food request form. So there's a lot of forms just to get a meal. But these are basically forms that allow the students to tell us what it is that they want to have at the event. Bill, if you can just click on the food waiver form link. I just want to show you this form. This is the food order request form that we use. We don't allow our students to call all of our vendors because our vendors could become very easily confused on who's actually supposed to be placing orders with them. So we have our students fill out this form telling us what they'd like to order and what time it's supposed to come, and then we place the order for them. Okay, you can go back. And then the ticket order form for Kane Stage is if you're selling tickets through the Wilkins Theater box office. So for their expenditures, the students have to obtain the estimates. They have to contact the vendors and find out how much roundabout it's going to cost. Then they have to get those estimates approved by their professional staff person. They have to input the expenditures either into the blanket grid sheets or DataTel, and then they have to track the expenditures. If you can click on that link, Bill. This is a color coding system that we developed to be able to track our expenditures. Again, when you're planning over 300 events, you can't go into DataTel to find out what the status of that event is every single day, because that's all you would do every single day. So we basically just created a simple color coding system that we use on the back of our requisitions to know what the status of each of those expenditures is. For purple, we use when we input that requisition. Then it changes to pink once we get the PO number or get the pink hard copy. If there's any problems with that expenditure, it's outstanding or it hasn't been approved, we flag it with red. If once we've accepted the goods, or we need to accept the goods because the event hasn't occurred yet, we flag it with green. And then once we've accepted it and we're just waiting for it to be paid, we flag it with blue. We also do this with our blanket expenditures. For all of our blanket expenditures, we flag them with yellow, so we know that it's a blanket. If they are once we are waiting for the goods to be received, we flag it with green. Once we've received the goods, we flag it with blue. Again, this way I'm able to go to a drawer and I'm able to see maybe 30 requisitions in this drawer, and I'm able to say, okay, where are my problems? All these reds, I need to take those and I need to see what the status is. What do I need to accept to make sure my vendors are getting paid? All these greens, all right, I need to grab those and accept them in the system. Okay, so we're not having to go into the system every single day to check to see the status of these requisitions. Again, it's just simplifying these processes so we can get to it very quickly and be efficient in our jobs. And then we just also put some notes on this document to know what all of the codes in DataTel mean. You can click back. The other thing that they have to do is create or request a flyer to be created. So we really encourage our students, go ahead, encourage our students to get creative, right? Our students know our students. They know what's going to draw them to get to the event. As much as I love talking about learning domains and learning outcomes and what our students are gaining from attending these events, if I put that in a flyer, I might as well just say, don't come to this event, because they're not coming, right? But if students put things that are catchy, mix and mingle, get involved, they put these catchy phrases, and then they put, graphics on there that are going to draw the students out. So when you're creating an event, definitely get creative in your marketing materials. Go back. Also, I would encourage you to utilize social media. Promote the event at least 2 weeks before. For our social media, we use Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, and Instagram. That's a lot. If you don't even have a social media for your department, just start out with one. I literally couldn't even tell you which one's the most popular one because I can't bother with any of them. But it's a great tool for students to get involved. Our students manage our social media. They know what our students want to see. It makes the world a happier place. Go ahead. You can request photographers, videographers, and reporters for your events as well. We have 2 student newspapers on campus, the Cougars Bite and the Tower. You can request either of them to be there. The Cougars Bite also can take pictures at your events, and University Relations can also take pictures at your events. If you're contacting any outside reporters or newspapers, I would encourage you to work through University Relations. And then you can also request videographers through University Relations and also the Cougars Bite, and possibly even AV, but maybe I shouldn't say that. They might end my presentation right now. Then the students, the last step of the execution is creating an event order form. If you can click on that. So this tells me if you're planning an event and you don't show up that day because you've caught a terrible illness, I can pick up this requisition. I know all of my expenditures. I can pick up this event order form, and I know exactly what I'm supposed to do that day. I know who my volunteers are. I have their contact information. I know what materials I need. I know what the setup of the event is. I have all of that information on one page. Again, simplifying it. So you're not looking through a million emails trying to put the puzzle pieces together, an hour before the event, and your head is spinning around in 360s. So this is a great form to be able to utilize. You don't have to use these exact forms, but I just want to show you that, how you can kind of simplify processes to make it easier in the execution phase. Okay. We're going to jump to performance. This is day of. This is what the students are doing the day of the event. They're confirming and informing volunteers of the responsibilities at least a week before, meeting with them, knowing what the game plan is for that event. They're confirming the vendors and coordinating any logistics, again, a week before. They're conducting additional day of promotion, handing out flyers to anybody that is interested. They're overseeing the event, resolving any problems that occur, and ensuring attendees are engaged, gaining value from the program. They're distributing attendee surveys. I want to show you just the check-in attendees using CougarLink check-in app, if we can click on there. Another great feature of CougarLink is that all of our students have a QR code that's unique to them. If you click right here on the Cougar, he's a huge supporter of all of our events. He comes to almost all of them. This is his QR code. So when he comes to our event, he shows us his QR code. We scan him in. We say, thanks for coming, Cougar. All of our students, it's the same thing, right? They have this QR code in their user menu for CougarLink. So we're able to check in easily all of our students coming into the event. Very similar to what we do for these PDD sessions where they're swiping their ID, but they're able to use their phone instead. Jump back. And then all of that beautiful data that I shared with you earlier from our attendees, we're gaining that data through iPods. That's all it is. Our students are walking around with iPods, and there's pre-built questions into these iPods, and they're handing it over to an attendee. And the attendee is answering 3 to 5 questions, maybe 6 tops, on what it is they're gaining from the event. So I get so much data from 3 to 6 questions because we're breaking it up into different learning domains, and we're asking very specific questions tailored to what we want our students to gain from that event. And that's where, surveys can be draining for students, right? Like I have to do another survey. But if we make it compact and easy for them to do, they don't care as much about having to do it. And then you get some of that valuable feedback because you're not draining them from 50 questions. They'll give you their opinion and their honest answers to what they're gaining from that program. And then you'll also have to document the outcome through pictures and videos, and that's how we're able to create these beautiful videos, because we're taking lots of pictures and videos at our events. Okay, so project close, this is our last step. This is where the students are completing the program assessment to tell us what they learned through the event planning process. They're reflecting and discussing with the team on any improvements and documenting that on the requisition. So if anybody decides to do that event again, they quickly have those notes. Didn't like the speaker, it was too hot, the vendor wasn't professional. Whatever it is that the students noted from that event, they can document on the back of that rec very easily. So then the next person that wants to plan that event knows those improvements that need to be made. And then any expenses need to be finalized, right? So any goods need to be accepted. The invoices have to be paid. If you haven't received an invoice, you need to make sure that you're getting an invoice. And you're documenting accurate totals of what that event actually costs so they have those actual figures for themselves. So you guys are ready? All right, I got a yeah. Thanks, Strawberry. I'm ready. I'm totally ready. Let's do this. So what do you think that you can do as part of this program development and planning process? What are some things that are feasible for you guys to do? Many of you probably aren't going to run out and plan a program tomorrow. A few of you might, but a lot of you are, what I would like is a lot of you to just encourage your students to get involved, either in a group or a student government body, or just attending an event. You can give extra credit. I know that's kind of like a taboo word sometimes, but you can give extra credit to students to go to events or assignments that are directly connected to events. This past semester, we had a bus trip to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and I reached out to an art professor and I said, hey, we're having this bus trip to Metropolitan Museum of Art. Do you think any of your students would be interested in going? I'd like for you to let them know that tickets are on sale in the Wilkins Theater box office. She said, wow, this is awesome. This is a requirement as part of my class anyway. I'm going to absolutely get this out to my students so that they can save some money and not have to worry about transportation to and from the city. Perfect matching. She already planned her curriculum. She already knew what she was doing, and she already built in their Metropolitan Museum of Art. Our students already voted on planning a bus trip to Metropolitan Museum of Art. It was just happenstance that we made that connection. And it made me think, how many other connections are out there that we're not getting, that we're not catching each other at the right moment? So if you're teaching a class and you want to have some kind of extracurricular component to your class, you can always email us at stu.org if it's for undergraduate students, GPSC if it's for graduate students, or CRC if it's for commuter students. I can't say that for sure. I'm promising you that we're going to have the event, but you send that email to our students. Our students can review your ideas and then vote on whether or not they can or want to pursue that idea. It doesn't hurt to throw it out there, right? And if it's a perfect match between your class, it's building in that learning component that we're already trying to seek. You can encourage a club that you advise to apply for special projects or annual funding as well. These are already the university partners that we have. So we work with, and I'm sure I have missed people and have not included every single department or unit on this campus. So you could be next, any one of you. Questions? I know I'm running out of time, but anybody have last minute questions? You can always come up and talk to me after the presentation as well. All right. These are my resources that I've had. One question.
Are non-funded groups eligible for the special projects funding?
Are one more time?
Non-funded clubs
Yes.
eligible for the special projects funding?
Yes, non-funded groups are the only ones that are eligible for special projects. So our funded groups already receive an annual budget that they get every single year. The other non-recognized groups that are not receiving an annual budget, they're the only ones that are able to apply for special projects. And they're able to get up to $3,000 either for one event or a series of events for their particular club. They have to just be recognized through the university for at least one semester plus the current one applying. Any other questions? Oh.
It's on your webpage.
Yep, if you type in CRC or StudentGov into the Kane website, it'll pop up and all those resources will be there. All the applications are on Cougar Link though, so any student that wants to get involved or apply for anything has to go to Cougar Link. That's our home base for involvement, pretty much. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you so much for coming to this event. So much talking about planning events. Thank you so much for coming to this presentation today. I really appreciate your attention and your participation.